Hey everyone, welcome to Grafton Custom Woodworking. When I started doing the pin turning, I joined a turning group on Facebook, and the other day I was scrolling through and I noticed someone did something where they had the pin blanks and they have it where they can set them off to the side. I was like, that's a great idea. I need something like that so I can kind of turn a couple pins, get them ready, and then before I put them all together, I have a place to put them. So I tried to look through Facebook and I couldn't find where that post was at again, so I'm going to try to recreate it. I've got this 1/2 inch plywood that I'm going to use, and so what I'm going to do, it is roughly 2 3/4 wide, and that'll be good enough. And then so I've got my pin blanks that I'm going to use to turn. So basically what I'm going to do is I kind of put it on here and kind of measured where it's going to be and made myself a little mark right there. It is 3/4 in from here and then 3/4 in from here, from the edge. So I'll make a line here so that way I can know where to mark, and then I marked my 3/4 in, and then what I'll do is, based on how far these will sit here, looking at the measurements, 2 1/16. So I'll make a mark every 2 1/16 down the road, or down the line right here. I'm gonna get my pencil and mark my square, and then I'm just gonna kind of draw a little line so that way I know exactly how far from the edge I want to go. And then I'll do the same thing, same distance from the top. I just found a piece of scrap that is roughly the right size, so I'm just going to put it on here where I made my last mark, and that way I can draw my line there. Now move it over to that line, make my marks, that way I know it's exactly the same distance for every single one of them. So I got this dowel, it's a 1 1/4 dowel, and then I have my pin insert, and it's almost the right size. It barely fits on, so I probably chuck this up into my drill and sand it down smooth a little bit so that way this will slide in a little bit easier. Super simple. I just put the dowel, 1/4 inch dowel, into the drill, and I'm just going to turn it on. I got some sandpaper that I'll wrap around it and just spin it around and sand it down a little bit. Now that I'm done with that, you can see this actually slides on really good. Just slides right through there, so that's perfect right there. Now what I'm going to do is I went ahead and chucked up a 15/64 drill bit, and because we're using a 1/4 inch dowel, then and I did sand it a little bit, I want it to be a good snug fit. But wherever I have my cross little arrows, I'm going to drill a hole in there, and we'll put the dowel in there. So we'll go ahead and line this up. Now that we're done drawing all the holes in here, I'm just going to take some sandpaper and kind of clean up some of that. This is going to be the bottom, and this will be the top, so we won't have as much tear out because I was trying to use a backer behind it, so it won't be as bad, but I just still want to kind of clean some of this up. I got it all cleaned up now, and you can see when I take my dowel rod, it fits in there just perfect. So now what I need to do is kind of figure out how high I want to go. And looking at this, I don't want to go all the way, so I'm just thinking maybe halfway here, so that way, you know, it can still sit on there, and it won't you'll catch it and hold it, but it won't be too much. So I'm going to put it there, take my pencil and mark it roughly about halfway. That looks good to me. And then what I'll do is I'll measure that, and I'll cut a whole bunch of these out. So that measurement came out to be 1 1/2. So I'll cut all these 1 1/2. With this dowel rod being so small, I'm not really worried about putting it on my miter saw. So I just put a stop block here, and measured it, and I'm just going to come in and cut it to where it needs to be. Now that we got all these put in here, what this will do is I will take my pin blanks that look like this, and I'll cut it the size I need, and I'll get the wood grain to match. And so basically it'll kind of look like this, and what I'll do is once I figure that wood grain, I'll make my little arrow so I know which wood grain is. Once I do that, then I will find my center here. I'll drill a hole, and I will glue my insert in, and then I can just slide the insert on there. And same way with this one, I'll just glue my insert, slide it on there, and then I can make a bunch of different ones like this and just have them sit here, so that way I know which ones match with which ones. And then I can take this whole thing and bring it over to my lathe and grab this section and turn it on the lathe, so that way I can turn it in pins. I do it section by section, and that's how this will work. I want to thank you for watching. Like I said, this was a really super build, but it's something that you kind of need. This will help me batch out a bunch of stuff, so that way I can kind of get it stationary, go from one station to another, and I'm not constantly going back and forth and setting up stop blocks and all that. So this will actually help out when I want to make a bunch of pins at one time. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.